subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran that you surely cannot guide whoever you like, but it is Allah who guides whoever He wills, and He knows best who are fit and best to be guided. Today, inshallah, I will talk about one of the shining stars in the constellation of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Now this man and this companion who I'm going to discuss today, you may recognize from the description of him who he is. You may recognize from the way in which I describe his attributes, I describe his position and his legacy, and you may come to the conclusion as to who he is. This man has a name which is found in our gathering tonight, in our majlis tonight. This man has a name which is mentioned in every majlis, every Thursday night, in every Husayniyah and in every masjid where the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are commemorated. This man's name is found in one of the most important du'as which make up the cornerstone and the foundation of our religion and our belief. Some people may not understand who this is. Even though I said that he is mentioned every Thursday night in our gatherings, we may not understand who this companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen is. This person, of course, and for those of you who already know who I'm speaking about, is the companion of Imam Ali, who goes by the name of Kumayl ibn Ziyad. And tonight it is important, especially on the night of Thursday, when we read the dua of Kumayl, that we understand who he actually is. For there is no point in us learning and reading this dua every single week unless we know who the person who wrote it and who transmitted it from Amir al-Mu'mineen was. And we need to understand as well why his legacy still remains till today, so much so that he is named after this dua, and it is given the name of Dua Kumayl. And to begin, I will ask with a question. How do we define the value of a man? How do we define the value or the importance of an individual? Do we define it by how much money he has? Do we define this person by his ashir or his tribe? Do we define it by whether he is in a position in the government, or whether he is a politician? Or do we define the value of a man based on the knowledge which he has gained, based on the honesty and piety that he exhibits in his life, based on the understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his religion, and someone who exemplifies it in his daily life through his speech and through his actions? We have to ask this question. And unfortunately, some of the schools of thought in Islam, some of the madahib, do not understand this man, Kumayl ibn Ziyad. There are different reasons why they may not know him, in all honesty. Some of them amongst the Muslims do not know who Kumayl ibn Ziyad is out of ignorance. They didn't bother to learn about the companions of Imam Ali, or they don't hold much weight or importance to the companions of Imam Ali. Some of them do not know about Kumayl ibn Ziyad because their scholars and the ulama from their madhab did not place any importance about Kumayl ibn Ziyad or about Amir al-Mu'mineen. And we have to ask why this is. The reason why many Muslims today do not know who Kumayl ibn Ziyad is because he was outspoken and because he was in defiance of some of the orders of some of the supposed caliphs or khilafas of Islam, and because he spoke out against some of the policies and the beliefs which they put into the ummah. And the other reason why some people do not attach any importance to Kumayl is because, of course, he had extreme love and obedience and friendship with Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. This in itself is enough for a large proportion of people who call themselves Muslims to disregard Kumayl and to disregard Imam Ali as well. Some of the other reasons we will not go into today, but one of the ones I want to focus on is that some people do not know him because of his political work. Now this doesn't make sense on the face of things. If I say to you, who is the Prime Minister of Iraq, or who is the Prime Minister of Britain, or who is the Muhafid or the Mayor of this city, everyone knows who it is. Kumayl was a governor. He was a political figure. He held political office. He was a governor in Iraq. So why then do people in today's world not know him? Why do they not remember his name? The reason for this is because when Kumayl was in charge of his area of land, and when Amir al-Mu'mineen had made him the governor of the land, when it came to implementing finance and money and wealth, he did not give it to the powerful people only. Kumayl made sure that even the poorest people, the weakest people in the society, had their fair share of money. And when it came to collecting the tax, he did not charge less for the rich people and take more from the poor. He did the opposite. He made sure that the poor people were in such a financial state where they would not have to worry. And this in turn made the wealthy, corrupt individuals at the time scared of Kumayl, enemies of Kumayl. Certain corrupt caliphs, such as the one who implemented his capitalist economic system on the Ummah, they used to be known for keeping all of the wealth and the money of the Ummah to themselves. They would not look after the poor people and the needy people. In contrast to the way Amir al-Mu'mineen was when he was the leader of the Ummah. He made sure that everyone was taken care of with justice, with equality and equity, and was treated fairly. Others did not follow in this legacy. Kumayl followed in the footsteps of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and these wealthy people who existed at the time in Arabia began to condemn and speak badly about Kumayl, and speak badly about his rulership over the people and over the Ummah. They tried to dirty his name with rumours. They came out and they said Kumayl is corrupt. They came out and they said Kumayl is taking money from us and he has not given us a chance and he is not doing anything good for this Ummah. He shouldn't be in power. We should remove him. They tried to dirty his name and muddy his name and to try and confine him into history. The same way as people like Yazid, for example, tried to put Imam Hussein's name into the bins of history so that people would not remember him today. But what these people didn't realize is that by trying to hide all of the good qualities and deeds and actions of Kumayl, they actually made him a shining figure for the followers of the Ahlul Bayt to remember up until today. And this is evident because we tonight recited the dua of Kumayl. It also shows that people wanted to suppress the voice of Imam Ali. People did not want Imam Ali to come out and to implement all of his decisions across the entire world, because this would be in accordance with the principles of Rasulullah. And we know that there are some people who claim to be from amongst the Muslims who did not even support the wishes and the views of Rasulullah, in which case we cannot even call them Muslim, because they do not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they worship the forces of shaitan. And this is evident by what Kumayl says to us. Kumayl came and he said, I have never witnessed in my entire life hatred and anger like the hatred and anger which was shown towards Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He goes on to say, Imam Ali was the man who, when I was 10 years old, he is the reason why we, the entire people of Yemen, became Muslim. The people didn't become Muslim because of any of the other caliphs. They didn't become Muslim because of any of the other Sahaba. They became Muslim because of the way in which Amir al-Mu'mineen propagated the message of Rasulullah. Kumayl says, if it wasn't for Imam Ali, none of us would have joined the religion of Islam and we would have remained with the kuffar. And now when he becomes caliph and he becomes the imam, from every angle, those people who saw him give victory to Islam when he was younger, now one by one they start coming out against him and they start speaking out against him. So even from the day where Rasulullah tells the Ummah, whoever I am his Mawla, and he is also his Mawla. From the day in which Amir al-Mu'mineen becomes the righteous Imam and leader of the Ummah, from the day in which Imam al-Mahdi goes into occultation up until today, we see that there are people who do not want Amir al-Mu'mineen to get his way. Going into the lifestyle and the life of Kumayl, when he reaches his adult years and he is living in the city of Kufa, a lot of people were angry at the time because of the actions of the governor of Kufa, a man by the name of Walid ibn Uqba. Now Walid is the half-brother of the third supposed caliph of Islam, Uthman bin Affan. Walid is known to be an alcoholic. He drinks alcohol and he gets drunk. He's not someone who drinks it in secret, He's someone who drinks it in public, and people know him as a drunkard, the same way that they know Yazid as a drunk person. And it came to a point one day, the breaking point, where Walid enters into the masjid to lead Salat al-Fajr. And when he goes to lead Salat al-Fajr, he comes up to lead the Salah, and he is drunk. He cannot even stand straight, he's wobbling about like this. He then begins to read Salat al-Fajr. After 2 rak'ah, he keeps going. 3 rak'ah happen, then 4 rak'ah. Anybody who knows how to pray Salat al-Fajr knows that there are not 4 rak'ah. But this supposed governor Walid is so drunk that he is out of his mind, he prays 4. And so people became extremely angry, outraged by the way in which the supposed leader, Islamic leader, is acting. And so they go to the palace of Yazid to try and address this issue. They come to demand an explanation as to why this is someone who is leading the Salah, but he doesn't even know how to lead it properly. When they come to his house, what do they find him doing? They find him drinking alcohol, of course. He's known to be an alcoholic. And they tell him, Walid, you must behave in an appropriate behavior. You are somebody who is in charge of our city, and you're someone who is leading the Salah in the masjid. You must behave accordingly. In reply, he shouts at them. He tells them to get lost. He doesn't just tell them to leave, he exiles them to the land of Sham. And when this delegation of people, who include Malik and Ashtar, and also Kumayl and Ziyad, and other people as well, they go to Muawiyah, and they try and explain the issue to Muawiyah as well. When they listen, and when they explain the issue to Muawiyah, what does he say? He as well tells them, get lost. Why? Because he has the same mindset and the same beliefs as Walid. He tells them, you're not welcome in Dimashq anymore, you must go to Homs, and you must live there. Exile them as well. Then they go to the third caliph, they go to Uthman. They are concerned about the behavior of Walid. So they say to Uthman, we are concerned as Muslims that this person does not know how to lead the Salah. And we demand that you appoint somebody in his place. Because you're the caliph, you're Uthman, we need you to make a difference in the Ummah. Uthman tells them again, no. Walid is my half-brother, I put him in power, I have faith and trust in him, so he will remain as the governor. Again, he tells them to leave his presence. So we have them going to complain about Walid to multiple people. They go to Walid himself, then they go to Muawiyah, then they go to Uthman. None of them want to listen. Why? Of course, because they're against Amir al-Mu'mineen, and they know these are the Sahaba of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So they don't want to listen. They don't want to give these people a platform. Otherwise, when one of them becomes the governor, then the mindset of Amir al-Mu'mineen becomes the prevalent mindset. It came to a point where the actions of Walid were so disturbing and so abhorrent. And it came to the fact where people were so upset, not just with Walid, but with Uthman as well, that Aisha herself comes and says about Uthman that he is a long-bearded Jew, he is a Yahud. Not me saying this. I didn't make the claim, Aisha made the claim. Therefore, everybody is in agreement that Walid is not appropriate to be leading this Salah, and he is not appropriate to be the governor. And so who in place should be the governor? Of course, when we look nowadays, we realize it should have been somebody like Kumayl, somebody like Malik, someone like Salman. And the reason why this is the case is because of the qualities of Kumayl and the qualities of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. First of all, we know he is one of the most trusted companions of Imam Ali. Imam Ali delegates him with a lot of authority, a lot of power. He is, of course, made the governor of Hit in modern-day Iraq. Does Imam Ali appoint somebody into a position of power if that person is not respectable, if that person does not have taqwa, he does not have good akhlaq? Of course not. Imam Ali will only appoint the best of people who are not ma'soom into these positions. The same way Rasulullah will only appoint as his successor somebody who is perfect and ma'soom, such as the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt. Secondly, Kumayl is known as somebody who dedicated his entire life to seeking knowledge and gaining ma'rifah about all matters and all affairs. We cannot see Kumayl just as a figure of politics, not just someone to do with political affairs. We need to recognize that Kumayl is a teacher of spirituality, a teacher of religion, teacher of akhlaq. He is famously narrated to have said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are the ocean, you are the sea which does not deplete. What does that mean? It means no matter how many difficulties come his way, no matter how many attacks are laid against him, are laid against Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha, no matter how many people come and try and kill him and eventually do assassinate him, Amir al-Mu'mineen never gave up. He never stopped working. He never stopped teaching people. He never stopped spreading knowledge. He followed in the footsteps of Rasulullah in this way. He never broke down and he never gave up. It would be very easy for Imam Ali to go into hiding and to lock himself in his house with his family and not get involved in any of the affairs of the Ummah. This would have been much easier life for Imam Ali. But he didn't do this. Why? Because he realized that it is his duty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go out into the world and give his knowledge. In terms of Kumayl, he desired very deeply for the irfan and from the ma'rifah from the Imam himself, not from any XYZ Sheikh, any person who goes and sits on the minbar, no, directly from Amir al-Mu'mineen himself. Why? Because he knows that Imam Ali is the city of knowledge. And to get to Imam Ali, you have to understand Rasulullah. And to understand Rasulullah, you must go through Imam Ali, no? The Imam also realized about Kumayl that this person is somebody who is ready to accept knowledge. He is not somebody who you teach him something and 2 days later he forgets it, unlike us. I'm sure you know, if I read to you one of the rules of fiqh, in 1 week's time you will have forgot it. Kumayl is not that type of person. Kumayl was the person who an entire dua was taught to, half an hour long, and he memorized it instantly and brought it forward for the world to see. We mentioned, of course, that this dua that we recite every Thursday is called the dua of Kumayl, the supplication of Kumayl. Now, why did Amir al-Mu'mineen choose this individual to have the dua named after? Why did he teach this person in specific the dua? Why didn't he go and teach one of the other companions this dua? The reason why Imam Ali taught Kumayl this specific dua, this specific supplication, is because Kumayl's heart was obedient and Kumayl's heart was open to having knowledge, and because his heart was filled with love and submission. We discussed a couple of weeks ago how somebody who has love for the Ahlul Bayt will have miracles brought unto him, such as that poor man who lived in the city of Najaf. He didn't go to the Hawza, he didn't learn about Islam. All he had was the deep love of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra in his heart, and every night she would come to him in his dream and help him with all of his issues. Kumayl is a person like that, except he has the knowledge. He is of such a high status, he is of such high quality that Amir al-Mu'mineen comes to him and entrusts him an entire dua to teach to hundreds of millions of Shias. The dua itself is a masterpiece because it takes apart all of our laziness, it takes apart all of our selfishness. And what it does is it lays our soul, our ruh in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bare. When we go and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance, for aid, for help, and at the same time we acknowledge that we are poor, we are in need of His mercy, we are in need of His help, this is one of the best and closest ways to get through to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When teaching him the dua, Amir al-Mu'mineen says to him, Ya Kumayl, preserve this dua because it is the dua of al-Khidr. Knowing this then, if it is the dua of the Prophet Khidr, it must elevate its status to such a high extent and such a high level that we are doing a good thing every week by coming to the majlis for dua Kumayl especially. Because if we recite the du'as of the Prophets, and we recite the dua which is transmitted from them through to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, then we know that we are getting on the right path, and that we are slowly working our way towards Jannah, inshallah. This is one of our aims and one of our desires, which we must have. Now, after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Kumayl ibn Ziyad's loyalty to the Imam did not stop. And this is one of the important points that I want to put across today and for people to recognize. He remained after the martyrdom of Imam Ali as a true follower of the Ahlul Bayt. Meaning what? This continuity to follow each Imam is absolutely critical and crucial and essential. If we are calling ourselves Shi'at Ali, Shi'at al-Mu'mineen, followers of Imam Ali, it doesn't mean that after Imam Ali we stop caring about the other Imams of the Ahlul Bayt or the other of the 14 Ma'sumeen. No. If you are a follower of Imam Ali, then you must also be the follower to the same level of Imam al-Hasan, and then of Imam al-Hussein, and then of Imam al-Sajjad, and then of Imam al-Baqir, and then of Imam al-Sadiq, and so on and so forth up until Imam al-Mahdi. It doesn't mean that we neglect the other Imams. It doesn't mean that we simply recite Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib's name, and forget the other Imams. No, because they all hold the same significance and weight, and from each of them there is a specific knowledge which can be gained. Kumayl follows in these footsteps. He remains loyal to the Ahlul Bayt after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen. His life comes to a very difficult and tragic end. For a long period after the martyrdom of Imam Ali, we do not know much about where Kumayl went. There are some records which indicate that the ruler at the time had put Kumayl into prison, but they had made a mistake when writing his name into the records for the prison. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows where Kumayl was at that time and what he went through. But what we do know is that during the reign of al-Hajjaj, may Allah curse him, Kumayl was an old man at this age. He's around 80 years old. He's very frail. He has to walk with a walking stick to support him and to support his body. And we know that at this time, the members of Kumayl's family begin to become arrested because they are shown open love for the members of the Ahlul Bayt and for pledging bay'ah to them. Now Hajjaj, when we talk about him, he was the definition of a Nasibi, meaning that he had a particular hatred towards not just the Ahlul Bayt and the Imams, but also the followers and the Shia of the Ahlul Bayt as well. Some people say that the first time Hajjaj spoke publicly, he asked a question to people. He said, what do people do on the day of Eid al-Adha? And someone replied back to him, on the day of Eid al-Adha, we sacrifice and we slaughter the lamb, we slaughter the sheep. He replied, okay, that's very good. But from now on the day of Eid al-Adha, we will sacrifice and we will slaughter anybody by the name of Ali, Hassan or Hussein. This is his mindset, this is his belief. To further show his hatred towards not just the Ahlul Bayt, but the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, he used to say, and forgive me for saying this, I wish I could have been there in Karbala. We say this all the time, I wish I could have been there in Karbala, so that we can save Imam Hussein. He says, I wish I was there in Karbala, so that I could have been the man who beheaded Hussein ibn Ali when he was lying on the ground. This is the mindset of this person. So how do you think he is going to react when Kumayl ibn Ziyad presents himself in front of him? Kumayl heard about the news of the torture and the arrest of his family members and his friends. So he decides that he will do the courageous thing. He will go out into public and he will go in front of Hajjaj and give himself up so that those people that he is related to will be set free. He gets his walking stick and he gets ready to go to Hajjaj. And people around him said, listen Kumayl, what are you doing? You're acting crazy. You know if you go in front of Hajjaj, he's going to kill you. You know he's one of the Nawasib, he's not going to kill you in an easy way, he'll make it very difficult and painful for you. Just go and hide. Kumayl says no. He says, I will not do it any longer. I've been lying and hiding and quiet for far too long. Any individual who comes out and who insults my Mawla, meaning Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, anybody who insults him is not a man who I will hide from. How dare this person insult Abu Turab? How dare he know the position of Abu Turab and still curse him? If Hajjaj says, where are the lovers of Abu Turab, then I will present myself as the biggest lover of Abu Turab. So he goes, knowing that death is certain and that death lies ahead of him. But before he is executed, Hajjaj and Kumayl have a discussion. They have an exchange of words. In this exchange of words, Hajjaj is trying to tell Kumayl that I will let you live on one condition. When Kumayl presents himself, Hajjaj says, so, you are Kumayl ibn Ziyad al-Nakhai. Kumayl says, yes, that's me. Hajjaj says, I heard stories about you when you were younger. When you were younger, you used to speak out against Uthman. Kumayl says, yes, I did. Hajjaj says, and you're the person who tried to speak out against the great Caliph of Islam, Muawiyah. Kumayl says, yes, I'm the one who spoke out against him. Hajjaj says, I heard you're the one who loves Abu Talib. Kumayl says, yes, I love Abu Talib. Hajjaj says, curse be upon Abu Talib. Disassociate from him and I will let you live. Kumayl says, I will disassociate from Abu Talib if you show me a way or you show me a path which is better than the path or the way of Abu Talib. My master, my Mawla, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, has told me that you are the person who is going to kill me. And we know that you are the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, if you want to kill me, do as you wish and behead me just now. Hajjaj gives him one more chance. He says, old man, are you crazy? I'm giving you the chance to live, to walk free, and to let all your family members go free as well. All you need to do is curse Ali ibn Abi Talib. What does Kumayl do? Does he give in? Does he bow down? Does he curse Amir al-Mu'mineen? No. He says, show me a religion which is better than that of Abu Talib's. And with that, Kumayl's final words were said, and Hajjaj, the accursed traitor, the follower of Shaitan, beheaded Kumayl. But the last words of Kumayl show his defiance and show his true Husseini principle. Kumayl says, Wallah, if I had 1,000 souls and they were taken from me one by one, I would still not curse Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And therefore, this whole life that he led, filled with loyalty, this life that he led with obedience towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, was finally stamped with the seal of martyrdom, of Shahada, the most beautiful death which a person can receive. So how do we become like Kumayl ibn Ziyad? How do we live his type of lifestyle? First, you must go and seek knowledge, especially meaningful religious knowledge. We shouldn't be happy to just come and read the dua Kumayl without understanding the words, without understanding the request to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are making, without understanding that we are weak individuals, we are weak creatures, and everything in our lives we rely upon from Allah Azza wa Jal. This is the most important thing. When you seek knowledge, it does not just come from sitting and listening to a speaker. It comes from reading the Quran and the tafsir of the Quran. It comes from reading the book of Ahadith. It comes from reading the books of our ulama and marajah. It comes from listening to those people who spent their entire lives devoted to learning the religion of Islam. Secondly, don't make the dua of Kumayl a ritual, which we just come and we read and then we go home. Every time we read it, we should ponder over the words and think about the words which we are saying. Thirdly, when we look at the life of Kumayl, we see that his loyalty towards not just the Ahlul Bayt, but to the religion of Islam, to the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Allah himself, was tested in many different occasions. First when he is exiled by Walid, then when he is exiled by Muawiyah, then when he is told to go away by Uthman, then when he is told to curse Ali ibn Abi Talib by Hajjaj. All of these, as well as other instances, his loyalty was tested. Our tests that we face today are different, but they are also very real at the same time. We need to ask ourselves if we are going to be as loyal to the Ahlul Bayt and to Rasulullah and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same way as Kumayl was, and to defend justice, truth, dignity, honor, haqq, wherever we find it. It's very easy for us to fall into fasad. It's very easy for us to fall into haram, to fall into sin. The most difficult part is to try and live our life without these sins. Therefore, what is the purpose of our being? the most important thing we should strive towards is to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleased with us, and that means staying away from these difficult things. So yes, it is a challenge, yes, it is difficult, but it's not meant to be easy for you. Therefore, you need to be strong individuals, not weak in your heart that you just go and sin and you don't pay any attention to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want that. And if we call ourselves Shi'at Amir al-Mu'mineen, we cannot be of these people who go and sin and fall into fasad. Because otherwise, we are being from those of the munafiqeen. And we cannot risk being of the munafiqeen when it comes to someone like Rasulullah and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Loyalty to their cause and their message and belief is something every day we have to pay attention to. Not just on the day of Thursday when we read Dua Kumayl, not just on 10th of Muharram or in Shahr Ramadan. Every single minute of every single day. Kumayl says, I remember one day, after the Battle of Siffin, I was walking in Kufa past a house with Amir al-Mu'mineen. And when we walked past this house, we heard the Quran being recited in the most beautiful way. The person reciting the Quran read it in such a way that my heart trembled, and that I began to shake with how beautiful the recitation of the Quran was. He says, I looked at Imam Ali at this moment in time and I said, Ya Imam, this is a very beautiful recitation of the Quran. The Imam looked back at Kumayl and he said, one day I will tell you about this man. For now, let's carry on. The Imam didn't pay that much attention to the person reading the Quran. A couple of months passed and the Khawarij attacked Amir al-Mu'mineen at the Battle of Nahrawan. After the battle ends, Kumayl says that Amir al-Mu'mineen came up to me after the battle. And he says, Kumayl, do you see the body of that dead man from the Khawarij which is lying on the battlefield over there? Kumayl says, Mawla, yes, of course, I see him. What is the significance of this person? Why are you pointing it out to me? The Imam says, do you remember that time in Kufa when we were walking past that house and we heard the man reciting the Quran in a very beautiful way? He said, yes. He said, did you not tell me that there will be a day in which I will remind you about this person reciting the Quran? Kumayl said, yes. The Imam says, this person from the army of the Khawarij, which is lying dead on the battlefield, this person who went to war against me, this person who went to war against the message of Rasulullah and who went to war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the person who was reading the Quran beautifully that night. Therefore, it's not enough for us to just read the Quran. It's not enough even for us to read the ahadith. Not enough for us to read Nahj al-Balagha, any of these things. Not enough. Unless we understand what they are being propagated. It's not enough. We need to understand the reality of the words of the Quran, the words of Rasulullah, the words of the Ahlul Bayt. Otherwise, anybody can come and read them. Even Shaitan, Iblis himself can come and read the words of the Quran. And this is in fact a way in which he gets to some people. So if Shaitan can do it, and this person in the arm of the Khawarij can do it, we need to differentiate ourselves from them. How do we do that? Understanding the meaning behind it. And having the ma'rifah and the basira to understand the meanings behind these things. And so the entire life of Kumayl can be summed up in this one sentence. His life answered the call of Amir al-Mu'mineen when he said, Ya Kumayl, knowledge is better than money, is better than wealth. Why? Because knowledge will guard you and it will protect you, whilst you will end up spending all of your time guarding and protecting your money and your wealth. Kumayl chose knowledge, and he used this knowledge to protect his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala up until the very moment where he was beheaded by the accursed Hajjaj. So to finish, I ask you to pray for the mu'mineen and the mujahideen, and I ask you to recite for all the shuhada, especially for the Hajj al-Sha'bi and the Jaysh al-Iraqi, to recite Surah Al-Fatiha after Salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi.